Welcome to the Stressless Eating podcast, where we help diet-obsessed and food-crazed women break themselves out of the food and body prison, end the dieting madness, and take control of their health for good. I'm your host, Leanne Ellington, and this podcast is about answering one question. How can you heal your relationship with food and your body and take a practical approach to this whole self-love journey, but without all that restriction, obsession, and shame, and without needing years of therapy to do so? If you want to know the answer, you're in the right place. All this information is 100% free, so please subscribe to and review our podcast. Well, hello, and I'm excited to bring you ladies a very special episode. I'm here in Asheville with my BFF, Laura Lee Bryant. Say hi, Laura Lee.
Hi, guys.
And we just happened to come here to get away and do a little working holiday. This is where we came about 2 years ago, and we co-created Stressless Cooking, and lots of magic has happened here. And I was planning on recording a podcast episode while I was here. And, after this weekend, or it's actually the weekday, but just the conversations that we had about getting really purposeful when it came to connecting with, my clients and the people that Laura Lee works with, and just, our own personal stuff, the journeys that we're going through in our own lives with the people that we work with, all of it. We just, I was like, I got to get her on here because some of the conversations that we were having were just so next level. So excited to have here just kind of chime in on some things. And you'll see that the title of today's podcast episode is Why Your Goals Keep Failing You. And I can't even tell you how many times I hear, hey, Leanne, I know what to do, but I can't get myself to actually do with it or follow through with it long term, keep those results. Or, hey, Leanne, I've been able to get short-term results in the long run, but I can't get myself to do it, or that bounce back effect that we talk about all the time where you get certain results, whether that's in your weight loss. And again, this isn't just about weight, but it's that, we get it back, we go back to where we were with interest, so to speak. Or just that feeling like I can't get myself motivated. How do I get myself to, pump myself up, get myself rah-rahed? And as we've talked about on this podcast so many times, that is a very short-term strategy. So one of the big things that we're going to talk about on today's episode of again, why your goals keep failing you. Because before you go set new goals, I don't want you to go down those dead end roads anymore. It's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I don't want you to go down those roads any longer. And it's before you can accelerate in a car, right? What do you have to do? Well, first, you gotta release the brakes, right? And so a lot of you out there are going and you think it's, you go, it's Monday and I gotta try something new, the next diet, the next thing, the next, fitness regime or whatever it is, because again, you're human and you think it's better than doing nothing. You think that doing something, even if you know it's no different, nothing's really changed in your head, your heart, your mind since the last time you tried it, you think it's better than doing nothing. And chances are, if you're anything like myself and most of my clients, it's one of those things when you witness yourself trying things over and over again that don't work, you A, think there's something wrong with you, and B, you believe yourself less and less every single time you go to try the next thing, or you say, hey, this time's going to be different. But again, our minds think that it's better than doing nothing. And so what happens is we go commit to the next thing, the next goal, because everyone's saying, you got to have a goal. And I get it. I've been there. I heard that too. And goals are really important, but they're not enough. So when you go to commit to a goal and you don't look back and think about, wait, why did the last thing not work, right? What is, failing me? Where are the brakes on, so to speak? And so a lot of this is again, before you can figure out what does work for you, and it's so different for every single person. I take my clients through an entire, 12-week metamorphosis to figure out what that is. But first, we've got to figure out what's not working. Why did the last thing fail you? Because again, it's not your fault. Despite what you think, you don't have a food problem, a motivation problem, a willpower problem. You're not weak-willed. It's the way you're going about things. It's the way you're thinking about it. And really the system of thinking that is failing you, right? And so when I say system, like really, it's like the let's take a goal, for example, because the title of this podcast episode is Why Your Goals Keep Failing You. Most people think about the goal and they think about like the system to get there last, right? But if any of the systems or if the system of a whole is broken, or if any of the systems inside of the systems is broken, you're not going to get to the goal. And we don't think about that. So, I mean, you're always hearing me talk about the tale of two cookies, and I'll use the tale of two cookies as a perfect example. I go about this in detail in the Stressless Eating webinar. And actually there's an entire episode dedicated to the tale of two cookies in, I think it's episode number 2, but we'll put it in the show notes. You know, if I eat a cookie, right? And I'm feeling amazing. I'm feeling the pleasure. I'm excited about it. I'm giving myself permission. It's a choice. I'm going to be in that relaxed branch of my nervous system. And then the system of systems that makes up my body and my nervous system, you know, the gastrointestinal system, the endocrine system, the respiratory system, the cardiovascular system, the musculoskeletal system, the system of systems, because each one is its own system, they're all going to be really just in flow. Versus if I eat that cookie and I experience guilt and shame and blame and comparisonitis and all of those things, the same system of systems, gastro, endo, cardio, respiratory, all of it, they're all going to be in resistance, not optimally functioning. You get the drill. But so we look at the end result and we think like, oh my gosh, I did something wrong. And it's like, no, let's go back and look at the system. Let's fix the system so that we end up with different results. But that's not happening because, again, we're human. We totally get it. Give yourself some grace. But you want that outcome. You want that result. And usually what happens is we buy into that short-term gratification trap because we want the quick results, and it's at the expense of your long-term results. Because let's be honest, nobody actually says like, hey, I think I'm going to start a diet or a fitness routine, and I'm going to, knowingly lose some weight and get in shape right now. But in 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 6 months, when I can't possibly sustain it any longer, I'm going to give those results back and I'll probably end up heavier than when I started. No, nobody actually says that to themselves in the beginning, but that's what ends up happening. That is the outcome and the result, because what's happening is you're just focusing on the content of what you need to do to get to your goal. So we're going to talk about today some really big distinctions. And these distinctions just kept coming up over and over again this weekend. And we were like, we have to, why aren't people talking about this? We have to share about this. So we're going to get into the nitty gritty of that in today's episode. All right, so let's talk about results, right? So you want results, you're human, and we want you to get results, right? But when we think about these results, part of it, again, nobody says like, hey, I want to get the results at the expense of the long-term, failure, right? In reality, what you want is this lifelong freedom. And so in order to do that, we want to talk to you today about this idea of intent versus content, okay? And so Laura Lee and I were talking about this weekend because, she has these amazing meal plans that she created for her clients. And, again, we all know meal plans are a dime a dozen. You can go on to Pinterest and get meal plans for free, or just Google meal plans and have them for free. But hers were created with a very special intention, right? And so, yes, the content are those meal plans, but the intent was something totally different. So first of all, talk to us a little bit about that, Laura Lee.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. This is so much fun, and I love listening to you and learning more from you. So I created my meal plans because I wanted to fix a very specific need, and part of it was sort of ostensibly, I wanted more accessible grocery lists. I wanted more affordable grocery lists. But as Leanne is saying, it was really more the bigger problems of giving people time, giving people more energy, and helping them become stressless cooks, which is the program we have.
Yeah. Okay. Stop right there. So here's the thing. Most women, They go on and they're like, I think I'm supposed to like follow a meal plan. And they just like find a meal plan, but they're not, again, changing the system of thinking that's causing them to be stressed out, not free, overeating, not enjoying the food that they're eating. So again, to like the average eye, it looks like Laura Lee just created some meal plans. But what she did is she looked at the problem. The problem was my followers, my ladies, they are stressed out about like the kitchen. They're stressed about like what to feed their families. They're spending way too much money. They're wasting so much food, all that. And so, yes, the meal plans happen to be the content, but the intent was to solve a bigger problem. So the way she went about creating those meal plans completely shifted the outcome of those meal plans, right? Same thing, like the tale of two cookies. If your intent is, peace and freedom and choice and deliciousness, you're going to have one experience of the cookie, same outcome, same content, right? And again, that cascade in your nervous system versus if you are, experiencing the guilt and the shame and all that, you are going to have a completely different experience of that cookie. Again, same circumstances, same content, but the intent is what shifts, okay? And I see this all the time with my clients, right? So again, when, in module 6 of our program in Stressless Eating, I give my clients a really specific, I call it an experiment because we talk about the experiment mentality all the time. You've got to figure out what works for you. And so I take them on what I call a big fat eating experiment. And so I do share with them some structure and some content, but the very beginning, the intent that shapes the content is very different. One of them is one intent is to heal the carb phobia. One intent is to heal the calorie phobia. One intent is to heal fat phobia. One intent is to heal them from this like scarcity mentality of like, I can't have that, or I'm not allowed to have that, to an abundance mindset of like, wow, I can have as much as I want of something. And so again, the content to the naked eye might just look like I'm giving somebody some food or a food structure, like AKA a diet, right? But we're just using the content of the food for a very, very specific intent. And that is to heal this cycle. Again, in other words, like we talked about a system of thinking, to heal the system of thinking. Okay, so back to this idea of why your goals keep failing you, right? We're talking about results. Most people think about it like, okay, I want to lose weight. I want to get fit. I want to make a certain amount of money. I want to get into a relationship, whatever the result is, right? And they think about it in terms of like how to get there. And a lot of times, they use a model or a system of thinking that they know, right? So weight loss is just the easiest one to use as an example here. But talking about and again, we've talked about on this podcast so many times how the eat less, move more model is broken, but we're just going to use that as an example, right? Most people think like, hey, I want results. I'm going to just focus on this doing side of things. But they don't think about like the way that they're getting there. They don't think about like, is it going to actually get them the outcome that they want to get? Because think about it. This is not your first rodeo, right? If you have tried like cutting carbs, cutting calories, tracking meal plans, whatever, going on Weight Watchers for the umpteenth time, what is going to be different about this time that you think is going to get you the outcome? And I'm not trying to be all doom and gloom, but what we fail to do is look at the trajectory, like the intent for how we are getting there. So if you're on, if a plane is parked in Orlando, Florida, and it's trying to get to New York City, if the trajectory is set to get to New York City, if the nose of the plane is off by even like 1 degree, it will end up in Washington, D.C. instead of New York City. So again, like, yes, the outcome is really important, but you've got to look at the trajectory of how you're getting there, right? Because again, if the way that you're getting there, it causes you to hate your experience of life, you can't do it very long, you know you're not going to do it very long, because again, this is not your first rodeo, you've done this before, you have to change the trajectory if you want to get different results, right? So again, it's like the intent, like, are you going to New York City or are you going to Washington, D.C., is going to get you a very different trajectory, right? So in terms of like that kind of thing, like the experience while you go, making sure that the journey is actually getting you where you get to, what kind of things are you experiencing with all of your, the people that you work with, Laura Lee? What's kind of coming to your mind about that?
Yeah, I think what I hear when you're talking about that is that when it comes to my work, I would say that I get, maybe 100 messages a day, and at least half, but probably more than half of them, they wouldn't need to ask me that if they were clear on their intent. They want a content answer. They want me to give them an answer of the content of what they should eat. But the reality is, if their intent were focused on getting clear on what their ultimate goals are and all of that, then they wouldn't need to ask questions that are related to content. So it's kind of tricky because I don't give them those answers because I want them to work backwards.
Right. And that's the thing, ladies, if you're hearing this, we're just inviting you into a different conversation. Instead of just thinking of the outcome that you want at first, right? What if you ask, like, what's the intent of that outcome? Like, why do I want it, right? So again, like, using the food example, like, are you going on a diet because you want to lose weight? Because 9 times out of 10, it's going to cause you to fear carbs, fear calories, fear fat, judge your body, shame your body, compare your body, all that, right? It's actually one of the biggest questions I ask clients before they come to work with me. I'll say to them, like, hey, what's your biggest priority right now? Is it losing a weight at the expense of losing it, gaining it, losing it, gaining it, losing it, gaining it? Because that's literally why they're on the call with me, right? Or is your biggest priority to heal this for good, learn a system of thinking that you can use forever, and just put this problem to bed for good? They are literally 2 different outcomes, 2 different systems of thinking, all that. And again, no offense, and it's not wrong or bad if your number 1 priority is weight loss. That's cool. But I'll tell them right then and there, I'm like, then I'm not the best person to help you, because again, it's more of the cycle. So again, another distinction is your goal straight up weight loss? If it is, I could give you 1,000 different ways for you to go lose weight in the short run. And your trajectory or the way you get there is going to be very different. But if you are sick and tired of that up and down, all or nothing roller coaster, and you're ready to put the problem to bed for good and just get your freedom and peace of mind and happiness and all of those things that you really think weight loss is going to get you anyways, then you need a different outcome. You need to pick a different outcome, which is freedom, not weight loss. And it's going to entail a different trajectory, right? I teach my clients this process of what I call reverse engineering. Because again, just staying on the same subject, what you really want is what you think the weight loss is going to get you. Freedom, confidence, happiness, peace of mind, like just an empowered self-esteem, feeling beautiful, all of those things that you really want. But again, if we use this line of thinking and we reverse engineered it, dieting, it takes us away from freedom. It takes us away from peace of mind and happiness and confidence. So again, it's like, if we just look at it just as the outcome, we think it's this black and white thing. But when you look at it like, how are you getting there? What's the intent that's shaping the content? It's going to change everything for you. Because if you start at freedom and peace of mind and happiness in the beginning as your intent, it's gonna be a different trajectory. All right, so how do you actually shift this? How do you go from like a goal setting mindset that's actually failing you to reverse engineering the outcomes that you really want? So there's 2 little distinctions that I'm going to touch on right now that are super, super powerful for my clients. The first one is actually how your brain works. So spoiler alert, if you want these long-term results, like a forever situation or forever outcomes, your brain actually works in minimums and not maximums. So here's what I mean. Maximums are, okay, it's Monday. I'm going to get up before my alarm set goes off. I'm going to start my day off with a 3-kilometer walk. I don't know who uses kilometers, but if you're my overseas listeners, I just switched to the metrics for you. I am going to, cut out all dairy and I'm going to limit my carbs. I'm going to go, instead of being on the couch after work, I'm going to start, going to the gym 5 days a week. I'm going to cut out soda where I'm currently drinking soda 3 times a day. And it's just like this 0 to 60, harder, faster, more, all or nothing mentality, right? It's like I'm going from eating cheeseburgers every day and I'm going to replace it with a salad. It's like I'm going from, watching 10 hours of TV every single week after work to I'm going to go cold turkey and watch none and start spending more time researching, things that I'm really empowered about or whatever it is for you, right? It's the 0 to 60 mentality. It's a recipe for failure, ladies. Okay. It doesn't work. That is maximums, right? Your brain needs minimums, okay? It is the difference between actually reaching your goals and not. So one of the concepts I use to teach my clients about this is the compound effect, okay? So if you get a penny, if you're offered a penny compounded every single day for 30 days, or if somebody said, hey, I'll give you $1 million, which would I take? Well, right off the bat, which one do you think sounds like more?
The instinct is to say $1 million.
Exactly, right. But a penny compounded it's 1 penny the first day, then it's 2 pennies, then 4 pennies, then 8 pennies, then 16, then 32, then 64. You get the point. By day 30, ends up being something like 5,300,000 something. So again, like you said, your instincts would say take the million. But really, it's that penny compounded makes the biggest difference. So for you, it's like, I don't want you to think about where do you want to be a month from now. I want you to think about where you want to be a year from now. And the best way to do that is by these small little changes that compound, working in minimums, not in maximums. It's also how your brain works, right? And so I know it's not as sexy as lose 20 pounds in 20 days, ladies. But I'm telling you, if you want to keep your results and actually get the outcome that you want to get, not to mention have the freedom, the peace of mind, and happiness you actually want, you've got to start thinking in minimums. So, Laura Lee, talk to us a little bit about how this applies in your life, what you've noticed for your own goals and your own habits, because you're somebody who lives a pretty habitually healthy life. Like that's one of the things you teach about, but it also transfers over into people's relationship with food, into their relationship with the kitchen, but also like just your mental and emotional health. Like I know for you personally, like you walk daily for your mental health, not necessarily for your physical health. So talk to us a little bit about how you incorporate minimums and maximums and how it's helped you really just ritualize your success.
Yeah, so what really comes to mind for me and the biggest transformation that I had mentally about this over the last 10 years was getting away from the wagon mentality.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, when you have that maximum mindset, you automatically, there's a wagon that you're either on or off. You're either doing it perfectly or you're not. And if you do that, it's not sustainable. And maybe it's sexy, but it's not sustainable.
Right, yeah.
So for me, moving away from this, first of all, there's no wagon.
Yeah.
There is no wagon. Moving away from the wagon idea and just realizing that it's an aggregate and, as Leanne said, a compound of the small choices that I make every single day, and those can look really different. Some of them are ostensibly really healthy, like walking and drinking water and all of that. But making the choices every now and again to indulge or to relax, those things over time have actually brought me to the healthiest place of my life versus when I did everything, quote unquote, perfectly healthy.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, you are so like planted in the wellness world, what are you noticing in the wellness world? And we're not here to like make anybody wrong or call anybody out, but what are some things that you see in the wellness world and you're like, no, don't listen to that. Like, it's not like a good example of, cause it's a wagon on and off mentality. It's an up and down, black, white extremism mentality. What should they be kind of looking for and noticing? What language, what kind of things are you seeing?
Yeah. I mean, it's a scary world out there. I think the biggest red flag is anyone who says that this is the thing for you or this is the thing for anyone. Anyone who espouses something dogmatic and tells you that it will apply to you and work for you, you need to run the other direction.
Yes. Amen. Yeah, I tell my clients, I'm like, if anybody's giving you a short-term Band-Aid, like run, don't walk, even if it's me. Like if I ever give you a short-term Band-Aid, like run the other direction, you know? And here's the thing, ladies, it's extremism. It's a form of extremism. And when you hear words like, even the good, bad, right, wrong, should, shouldn't, the always, never, like this is the way rather than a way. And, and again, this comes into experimentation. Like, when we talk about why your goals keep failing you, one of the reasons is because you're looking for the perfect plan, the perfect roadmap. And the only way to figure that out is to experiment and figure out what works for you. And so what I invite you into is find somebody that actually helps you experiment to figure out what that is. Can you share a little bit about your views on the whole experimentation mentality and figuring out what works for you?
Yeah. So, one of the things I teach, especially in my meal plan community, is that taking control of your kitchen can help you take control of your life. And what that looks like isn't a formula. I give you a structure, and then your job is to have fun with it, to play around with it, to be creative, to get into a new habit of being your own boss. And it's not about what food you're making. It's really not. It's why I tell people with my meal plans, I want you to make the same meal plans over and over again, and your family can just deal with it for a little while. But I want you to practice that, because then you start to add a little bit of this and that, and you adjust it and tweak it, and all of a sudden you feel like a brand new person.
Yeah. Oh gosh, this is so gold. Ladies, if you're hearing, like she just talked to you about really shifting a thinking. So she's not talking to them about food. She's not talking to them about meal plans. She's talking to them first and foremost about becoming the version of themselves that has this way of thinking around food, that has this way of thinking around your kitchen. And so just to kind of parallel what she just said, for me, sometimes when I'm feeling stressed or I'm feeling like out of control, so to speak, I'll just clean my room and make my bed. And it changes everything because it gives me this semblance of control. And that's what she's saying. She's like, it's like, take control of your life by taking control of your kitchen. It sounds like such a small thing, but it just works in dividends. And again, it's another example of the compound effect. So again, on this topic of conversation of becoming the version of yourself that would just have this way of thinking, that would have this way of living. Coming back to this idea of the goal versus the trajectory, I want to invite you to shift your trajectory so it's no longer 4 weeks out, 6 weeks out, like you see all these 6-week challenges or these 5-day challenges. It's like what I talk to my clients about is I was like, who do you want to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And let's set that as the trajectory and let's reverse engineer that, because it's no longer about I want to lose weight. It's about, I want to become the version of myself that no longer has a weight problem. It's no longer I want to stop emotional eating. It's no, I want to become the version of myself that no longer uses food to feed my feelings, comfort, or numb. It's I want to have a smaller body. It's no, I want to become the version of myself that health is just who I am. It's not what I do, it's who I am. It's not this conversation of forcing myself, persuading myself, convincing myself, coercing myself, where it's this on, off, in, out, all or nothing, wagon, so to speak. It's about becoming the version of yourself that has better problems. And that's why your goals are failing you, because, and maybe some of you are, but I can guarantee if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably not. You're still thinking about weight loss as your goal. So again, and another reason why your goal is failing you or keeps failing you is weight loss your goal. If that's your goal, that is probably going to yield you more of the same, because not to mention it already has this negative association of failure and shame, and it's not even what you really want, because what you really want is the freedom. Okay, the next little distinction I want to introduce you to, and we're going to touch on it. It's a big topic. We spend a lot of our program, in Stressless Eating doing this, is this idea of the data versus the drama. Okay, so the data is, I'm going to use warm chocolate chip cookies, ladies. Come on. The data is I ate a cookie. Okay, the drama is that was bad. That was wrong. What's wrong with me? I'm weak-willed. This is what I do. No, that is all drama. And what I mean by drama is it's the story, the meaning, the kind of like account or narrative that you're giving of what happened. What actually happened, like the factual information is I ate a cookie. Everything else is just drama. It's what's added. And so when it comes to your goals and why they are or are not failing you, I guarantee you there's a lot of drama that's still associated with food, that's still associated with your body, that's still associated with yourself, because here's the reality. Where there is drama, that is where there is shame, blame, guilt, comparisonitis, perfectionism, all of that. So coming back over to you, Laura Lee. So with you, with your clients, but also like what you're seeing in the wellness world, talking about like all the stuff you're seeing, like talk to us, like how can we see, like where's the drama that you're noticing? How is this distinction relevant for you and the people that you're working with?
So what comes to mind actually for me is something that you and I talked about yesterday when we were sharing our Asheville food experience, and how we basically over the course of the day ate some kind of traditionally healthy food, salads and veggie burgers. And then we also had cake, and we started the day with donuts.
Yeah.
And I was sort of remarking that we now have this food freedom, Leanne and I both do, and this relationship with food where we can enjoy food the way we did back when we were in middle school. Most of us in middle school, elementary school, there is a package of cookies open and you just eat them until you're just done. Yeah. You're good. Yeah. And the reason you're able to do that is because there is no story around it. And I said, Leanne and I, we enjoyed as much of it as we wanted, and we were able to put it down. We were able to put it down because we didn't have some scarcity mentality about, I'll be better, I'll get back on that wagon tomorrow, or whatever it looks like.
Yeah. And it's so interesting. You guys are now hearing how the data versus the drama also interacts with like the minimum versus maximum, like extremism mentality. Because we don't have this like scarcity mentality of like, oh, I can't ever have that, so when I do have cake in front of me, I have to eat the whole thing. It's also not becoming dramatic. So it's this whole, again, system of thinking. And yeah, literally we got here and Laura Lee has been here so many times, like this is her home away from home, and she's like, oh, Leanne, like, if you want some treats, like I love this donut place is the best, and this place has amazing cake and all that. And we literally had we had donuts for breakfast, and then we knew we wanted to have some cake later on. And so again, we reverse engineered how we wanted to feel. And we wanted to be able to feel present with the cake, indulge in it, not like binge on it. And so in between, remember the trajectory was freedom, peace of mind, happiness, feeling good in our bodies, not feeling overstuffed, not being in a carb coma, all this stuff. We both were like, you know what? I think in between it would be a good idea if we got some like nutrients in. So we went to this cafe and we split a salad and a veggie burger, and it was delicious. We weren't like, oh no, we have to have we wanted it because, and then it was almost like we prepared ourselves for the experience of the cake, and there was no drama about it. And then we both had, we ended up getting to go into this place, and what did we end up getting? It was like
the chocolate cake, you mean? Yeah. Yes. It was like a chocolate birthday cake, chocolate mousse, a brownie.
Yes. There was no drama because we went to get cake and then we saw other things and we're like, we're going to take that. We're going to take that. We're going to take that. And it was just such an abundance mentality. We came back here, we essentially had cake for dinner, and we got 2 pieces because like who just gets 1 piece of cake? Let's be honest. So we got 2 pieces. We got the brownie, the chocolate mousse, and we ate what we wanted of it. And we threw away the rest.
We're good.
Yeah. We're just like, okay, we're good.
I just want to interject because I don't want to forget that you use the word treat, which I love, because in the wellness world, there's a lot of talk of cheat days and cheat meals, and I hate that, which is a strong word. I don't say hate a lot, but I do hate that because that is everything that we're trying to move away from.
Because it denotes that food is something that you're doing something wrong if you're eating a treat.
So you have a day where you just stuff yourself full of all this stuff, and then you'll quote do better.
Yeah, exactly. So that's another distinction. Like if you're using looking at your language, that cheat word is a symptom symptom of extremism, that you're off the wagon or on the wagon. And so I say things like, hey, I want to splurge on this, or like this treat, right? And so again, I love that you brought that up, because again, if you're using words like that, it's like, oh, I ate so bad today, or oh, I cheated on my diet, or like, I'm gonna have a cheat meal, or like, wow, that was like not healthy at all, or I ate too much of that and that was so unhealthy. These are words, ladies, that show us that the system of thinking that you're using, and I'm gonna go as far as say, it's broken. It's a broken model. It's a reflection of the weight loss mentality, the diet mentality, where it's in, it's out, you're on, you're off, there's good, there's bad, there's right, there's wrong. You get it. You know what I'm talking about. You live it every single day. You're probably so flippin' sick of it, right? And that is why your goals keep failing you, because you're working in maximums, focusing on the content, not even thinking about the intent, looking at your results, but not even thinking about the trajectory of the metaphorical airplane. And is it going to actually get you to where you want to get? And having a lot of drama associated with food. And by the way, the word good and bad, that's also drama. Like a cookie is a cookie. Nobody ever says that, like, who's to say it's good or bad? Okay. Sometimes a cookie is great for me, and sometimes an extra cookie is not great for me, depending on who I'm being and how I'm feeling and what my intent is. Awesome, ladies. So this is just some streams of consciousness from Asheville. Thank you so much for just tag teaming this with me, Laura Lee.
Oh, this was awesome. So powerful.
Love it. Yeah. And so tell them your handle on Instagram if they want to find you. If you're not following Laura Lee on Instagram, first of all, she is a master in the kitchen, and she embodies the stressless eating philosophies. And it's not just about that. She teaches women how to take the stress and emotion and obsession out of cooking, and how to get in your kitchen with feeling freedom and using it as a tool to feel more in control of your life, not shame yourself or feel inadequate or anything like that. Not to mention, she shares amazing, delicious recipes. She's got 2 amazing cookbooks. Where can they find you?
So my website is llbalanced.com, and then my Instagram is @LauraLeeBalanced. And you can message me if you are somebody who the question, what's for dinner, causes you stress and anxiety. You can reach out to me because I have something that is the right fit for you.
Awesome. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for contributing. Ladies, it's been a pleasure coming to you from Asheville, North Carolina, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you like what you heard and you're interested in breaking out of your own food, body, and diet prison, here's what I want you to do next. Head on over to stresslesseating.com. That's stresslesseating.com, and sign up to watch the Stressless Eating webinar, where I'll walk you through the exact 5-step game plan my female clients use to conquer emotional eating, self-sabotage, and finally heal themselves from the restrictive all-or-nothing diet mentality for good, but without obsessing or spending years in therapy to address it. I've laid it all out for you there in 5 easy steps. Remember, healing your relationship with food and your body does not happen by itself. You need expert guidance to make it happen, and we've helped clients all over the world take back their power from the food and find true and lasting freedom, while enjoying life and warm chocolate chip cookies along the way. To see if we can help you do the same, head on over to stresslesseating.com. I'm Leanne Ellington, and I'll see you next time.